All right, guys, so this is what it's gonna look like. I'm sure this top piece has a specific part number for a 2018 that actually has a smaller cutout for the newer style USB connection. Ow. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And you can see we got the mega cab behind me. We are in the new shop. We're going to continue to pump out videos, get that out there for y'all to see. And in today's video, we are going to be upgrading the factory head unit on the 2017 to a CarPlay model. And so the biggest thing that we have is a 2017. This is the year before they went to factory CarPlay. It was wired back then. We also have something we're going to do to change it and make it wireless. But unfortunately, we do not have CarPlay. Looking here in the cab of the truck, let me click on. There we go. Get this to come up. So we do have the bigger 8.4 Uconnect. We have basically every option because it's a limited, except when you go into media, all it is just a Bluetooth audio connection. It has kind of a little bit of Siri built in. It was like one step from your 2014 to your 2016 models didn't have the Siri built in, where this one does when your phone finally connects. But it didn't have that true CarPlay like you have in your newer trucks in the 5th gens. So all we do, we just have a audio device, which is now it's connecting to my phone while I'm videoing. But setup, you get info, just your standard plain cross Canadian ragweed. So as you can see, the screen's kind of boring in there, and the cool thing is all the parts that we need to upgrade that are sitting here on the table. So we kind of got two-step process here. The first thing to do is to source you a 2018, and it has to be a 2018 factory head unit. I found this one on Marketplace. The screen was pretty tore up, and you can see here's the screen from it in this box. You can see it had a lot of marks on it. Truck with some higher mileage, you can see how many times these lower buttons were hit because it's leaving marks on the screen. So there's a brand out there called OE Autotronics that actually refurbished these LCD screens that come on the Uconnect specifically for them as well. When you start looking in here, here's the part number for a 2018, and then it also has to have a specific screen. This screen right here is specific to 2018 as well. So when you go into that website and you select what you need, there's going to be two different models, like an AC and an AD model. So just got to be careful with that. And then here's all of our connections back there. So we got to take apart the dash, and then into the center console, there's an adapter piece that plugs into the factory wiring to plug into our new USB. So this will transfer the CarPlay from what is going to be this little stick right here, or if you had your regular iPhone cable, you can just plug that into here and it would do wired CarPlay, but where's the fun in that? So we're gonna, and then also while we're there, my truck, it has the Snow Chief package from factory, and that means that it has the auxiliary switches. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like going into the screen to get the heated seats or the AC seats, heated steering wheel. I would rather have the buttons on the outside of the screen. So we're gonna go ahead and change that as well. You can see here in the screen. And inside the truck, we have the 5 auxiliary switches. So basically, we're gonna be tearing apart the entire dash. We do have to, take everything off, pull the head unit out, and then we're gonna have to go ahead and take out this tray lift up so we can get all the wiring back behind here to pull out. Here's the one in a 2013 to 2017 model. 1 year newer, it really did change. So that's on the agenda today. We're gonna put you on a tripod. We're gonna get all this stripped down, tore apart, point out any things kind of that you need to be aware of. And then once we get down into the dash, we're gonna see how everything kind of matches up and go from there. So catch up with you here in a bit. All right, guys, so we got the dash pulled out. Ended up taking the top of the center console off. It's just sitting right here. The Limited, you got that nice little roll cover right there. But that's sitting in the back seat. Here's what the truck looks like pulled apart. Once you pop the dash out, just reach behind there and unplug these things. Not too difficult. While we're at it, we will clean, as this was about used, and we want to make sure that it stays as clean as possible, even with the parts that you can't see. It looks like someone spilled something back in the day, but there's just a couple of screws here. One in the middle. You just take up all the little dust covers, the little rubber pads, all that sitting in the center. There's 2 screws right here. There is 2 Phillips screws right here. And then there's 2 T20s sitting up here. You can see where they screw in to the clips. That really does it for the teardown. It's easier if you pop open the center console, the flip part of it, if you so you have more room. But here it is. Next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and start taking out the head unit itself. It's gonna be a direct swap. Here is the dash. Remember, we still want to trade this out as well, so we'll flip that over. That'll be the second part of the video, along with swapping this out. You can see aux 1 through 5 versus actual switches for your heated and cooled seats and steering wheel. Here's the head unit itself. We're gonna plug it in, make sure we have power. You do want to make sure that you have the pin number from the new radio or the different radio you're going with. If you don't have that, there's a service on eBay that will tell you, or you can use Alpha OBD, or you can find the specific serial number of that radio and give that to one of the Ram dealerships. Some of them may be stingy, some of them may not, and they'll run that and give you your specific pin. It's a security code and for security purposes. But the seller of this one gave me the code, and it should work just fine. So I'm thinking it's gonna prompt, you know, type in the code whenever it recognizes that it's in a different vehicle than the one it came out of. Don't really know. We'll see what happens. May have to go into Alpha OBD to unlock it. Not sure. But let's go ahead and start pulling the old head unit out and see what it looks like behind there. All right, so we're sitting here in the truck. Wanted to point out a couple of differences here. These are all in different, let's say, order orientation. This one was over here on the other truck, or on the older head unit. But if you look at the way these are tabbed, like those 2 ears right here, and the color, it actually is the exact color match of this, and it's over here to line up with the orientation of how these all plug in. So everything looks good. It went together smoothly. This main harness clipped in just fine. This, instead of the push pin being here on top, it's actually rotated 180 degrees and now on bottom. So a couple of minor differences. The frame and everything is going to bolt right back up. I should be able to click it on and it have power because everything's plugged in. There's nothing else left. So we're just going to go ahead and put this back on, but we don't want to power it on until we get the center console stuff taken care of with the USB. That is really it. Nothing, you know, too crazy. All it is just working on the interior, a whole lot easier than working in the engine bay. Wanted to do something pretty simple on a Sunday afternoon, so this is the part I chose to install. It's been sitting on the shelf for a while, but here we are. Let's take a look at this piece. So this doesn't look like it's going to be a direct swap into the center console. It looks like it's not as wide as this other one. That's something we're going to figure out. We're going to get this cleaned out and start trying to install this in that slot right there. All right, here it is pulled out of there. Here's the two wires that were, or harnesses that were plugged into it. Here's the one going into the cigarette lighter. Nothing spectacular, just a underside of that top lid portion of your flip up console. Here it is out on the bench, or really the table. This is the part that we're gonna pop out of there. Just has these little push pins. And then the new one is right here, and our adapter cable, which looks like it's gonna adapt from this new style into the old style right here, because this will match this one right here. So that's all starting to make sense. It looks like it, yeah, it already goes in there just like that. And then this will plug right back into whatever kind of connection that is, top or bottom. I don't think it matters. We'll see how it fits and go from there. Well, it kind of is specific. You have a little angled piece right here on the right and an angled piece here on the left. So we'll see which one it actually fits into. So we're just go ahead and pop this out. We'll pop this in there, see what it looks, and show you afterwards. That's the only thing that's not a direct swap is gonna be the USB plug-in. Fine with that. Everything else is going to be plug and play like you saw earlier, and that's the way that's going to sit. So you're going to leave that off there for now, and we're going to start working back into the dash and getting this swapped over, and then we're going to get everything back together. Not fully though, just enough to where everything's plugged in, and see if it works, see if it calls for that pin number, and go from there. But let's leave that as it is right now and start working on getting our auxiliary switches pulled out of there. All right, looking from the back side of it, looks simple enough. Just gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips screws, and then the plug-ins are just like that. Flip it over. We have the plug-in just like it right here. So let's see how this swaps in. Just like that, we got it pulled out. This is a separate part that's gonna push out. It also clips in like with these little push pins right here. But here's the difference side by side. If anyone needs or anyone wants to switch over to the factory auxiliary switches, then leave a comment. I will sell this one cheap to you. Just drop an address and we'll see what we can do. Still in perfect condition. Truck only has 44,000 miles on it. If you want something like that, so you have true factory auxiliary switches, then here is your chance. Especially if you have a limited that is hard to find with the hill descent control and all your park sense stuff. But here's the part that we want to switch to, and let's pull this out of there. Swapped over just like that. Nothing difficult. Place it back inside. Here you go. Make sure that it is not upside down when you go back. So right here, press in, check the other side. Not upside down. We look good in the neighborhood. Put your 4 screws back in and we will be done with that little swap. Not a hard one, just one of those little things that was kind of bugging me about the truck, the way it came from factory. All right, so we got that taken care of. That's the dash. Let's swap over this this adapter, and it's going to be just a straight plug in until you hear a click like that. All right, so let's go get the top, set it back in here, plug it into the back of this right here, and then we will start putting everything back together. We will key on power to the truck and see what kind of initial reaction we get out of that, And then I will also go over this little device, and this is our wireless CarPlay little stick module, if you want to call it that. That'll plug in, and it already does. So hopefully that is what gets us the wireless CarPlay. So you have kind of, you know, the 2022 or newer models have the wireless. I want to step up into that. The old screen was just getting a little too outdated. All right, so we got the dash top back in, or really the center console top. Here it is. That's what it's going to look like. Honestly, not too bad. So everything went back together just fine. You have that extra wire underneath here, so you kind of have to rearrange so it sits down in there a little bit better. But we are going to put this back in. Just go ahead and run these 4 bolts back through, and then see how this reacts. Key on power. All right, so after some thought, I was like, well, let's just plug everything back in so the truck will recognize it whenever we key on power. But like I said, moment of truth. See what it does. Sirius XM, that's a little bit different. And this is the first time seeing it. It may not even work. A little bit different. We still have the controls up here, but definitely newer. And it does look like we're okay. Controls still is there. Let me cut this down so we don't have the glare. Sorry for the dinging. We're just gonna have to deal with that. But right now it's working as it should. We got power to the buttons down here. Let me see if this will work. Yep, we're getting changes up there. All right, let's go into climate. Sync. The sync is on, so it should go up and down together. Is go ahead and go into our media connect. So all this. So here's where we're gonna see if we can get Apple CarPlay to work. I'm gonna cut the video real quick and get this all set up. All right, boys, so we are plugged in. This is wired CarPlay, but as soon as I plugged it in, we got CarPlay right here. We got ourselves an iPhone looking screen, updated 2025. That is fantastic. And it worked just like that. So the idea is to, let's see if we can get wireless CarPlay to work. We'll get on Spotify. We can play us some music. Honestly, this is super clean. The screen is crystal clear. The new one that I got. Everything looks like it's working, unfortunately, besides the heated seats. I'll do some more playing around with that. I wonder if it gives me more options because it's an 18 model. Probably not. But here we go. I always like this screen, seeing where we're at. David Frizzell's playing in the background. We got the radio, media, but CarPlay. So media versus CarPlay is different, which is pretty nice. So we got ourselves an updated head unit in a 2017. Awesome. So let's see if we get the wireless CarPlay to work. So as soon as I unplug, it should do something else. Yep. And it'll go back to phone, and then we are in media instead. So it should be Bluetooth still. Yeah. So we're good there. One thing I did notice is that this is red, and the rest of the truck is kind of a blue theme. So I'm gonna see if I can't get all this to change in the settings. That was one thing that I did notice going from that older to the newer, but definitely a big difference. Just overall cleaner look of everything. All right, I did some research, and this is actually the best one. There's plenty of these wireless CarPlay little modules or sticks that you want to call them that claim that they're the best, but there's a guy on YouTube that did a really good video comparison. But it's going to be the CarLink one, just for the Apple CarPlay, not the one that does Android Audio and Apple CarPlay. This is just the CarPlay stick. So let's go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. I don't have directions, so this may just be trial and error. All right, so now I am not plugged in. We have this stick in there. You just plugged it in, and it prompted you to go to your Bluetooth settings and then pick the name of the stick, which is like Uconnect, Uconnect something or other. Had some abbreviations in it. Connected to that, it said allow to sync contacts, do all that good stuff. And here we are, wireless CarPlay in a 2017 vehicle, an 8-year-old vehicle. Pretty cool to see. With just a few parts under here, finding the 2018 head unit, and then kind of just doing some work on the dash. But really, this is awesome right here. I'm gonna play around with this, see if I can't get this to turn blue. But here's CarPlay, everything that you basically know from any other vehicle that's newer that you drive. Doesn't even have to be a Dodge. It could be a Ford for, you know, all we care. But this is where we're at. Let's see here. Controls mean settings. Settings mean maybe the theme color. And let's see here. Display. Display mode is manual. Control timeout. Oh man. Set theme. RAM 1. No. We want something with blue. There we go. Let's see what else we got here. I don't like the orange. I don't like that either. Yeah, we're going to do RAM 2. All right. Now we got ourselves blue to match the blue in the door panels. We can go back to here, and that will take us back to our home screen. So now the rest of everything, just gonna get this pushed back together. Gonna do some research to see if I can't find a solution and help you guys out for people that are watching. But we got some work to do to get everything back together. But very, very excited, very, very clean install. This one was a lot easier than working on the second gen, pulling ahead. This one's the interior work, so you just gotta be kind of careful with things, pulling it apart. This is getting the truck up to par with 2025. In terms of technology, there's been a lot of advancement in the last 7 years. So here's where we're at. Let's get this one back together and we'll catch up with you afterward. All right guys, so that's gonna wrap it up for this video. We got everything installed back to normal. Here's everything all the way back together. We got some tools left out over here, but here's what the screen looks like. Super clear, awesome. Here's the truck. There we go. For people that have been watching the video, here you go. So it recognizes that it's nighttime because we're in the shop right now. And then here's that 5-inch to 8-inch axle dump. Appreciate you tagging along. Fun little install. Glad I got the truck up to par with 2025 technology. That was kind of annoying every time that you got in the truck and you're just staring at that old Uconnect screen. Just irked me a little bit. Took care of that. Great install. Papa's leaving. You can hear him. He doesn't know I'm closing out a video. That's okay. But that'll be it. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, drop a comment below, because trying to source all these parts, you got to be very specific to what kind of model the Uconnect is, and then to get it activated and things of that nature. So if you have any questions, reach out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Boss out.